Welcome to Laguna Seca, folks. What a stunning afternoon we've got ahead of us here in practice. 23 cars on track, and honestly, the Watifa Muse S2000 is looking absolutely sharp today.
Rob JSE's already built a 32-second cushion at the top, but look at the middle of the order. Freezer and Big Red 7 are separated by just 200ths, so there's serious work happening underneath.
Rob JSE's really commanding out front, but look at that battle behind him. Freezer and Big Red 7 are trading paint on pace, absolutely glued to each other.
The gap's tight enough that one good sector could shuffle the order, and JNKNS 4749's right there too, just 4/10ths back. This midfield is probably where the real strategy starts to matter.
Rob JSE's holding it together nicely up front, but Freezer looks sharp. He's hunting, staying within 3.5 seconds.
What's interesting is JNKNS 4749 closing in from 4th. That's only 0.8 back now, so the field's definitely tightening up as everyone gets heat into these tyres.
Freezer's got some real momentum building now. That gap to Rob JSE is shrinking with every lap.
5.5 seconds is
Welcome, everyone, to Laguna Seca. We've got practice underway with 23 cars running this gorgeous Watifa Muse S2000, and let me tell you, the pace out there is properly quick already.
Rob JSE's set the early benchmark, but Freezer's only 4.5 tenths back. The real story will be who can dial in consistent pace over these next 2 hours and sort their tyre strategy.
Rob J.'s been out there for a while now, really starting to flow through the technical stuff, but Freezer's right on his tail. This is shaping up nicely.
Freezer's probably got fresher rubber at the moment. Once Rob JSE's tyres settle in properly, we'll see if that gap holds or grows.
Freezer's coming in early. That's interesting. Heading for the pit box now on those 888 RS.
With over an hour and 50 minutes still on the clock, this looks like a strategic stop rather than a tyre change born of necessity. Question is whether he's planning a single stop or setting up for a 2-stop from here.
Morel's peeling off into the pit lane now. Another early stop, and he's on those 888 RS just like Freezer was.
2 early stops on the same compound suggests the field's thinking hard about stint length here. With fuel strategy factoring in, this could very well be a 2-stop race for the front runners.
Rob Jazz is still out front and he looks absolutely composed. Those early stops from Freezer and Morel have given him some breathing room now.
The gap to P2 should be widening, but Brad's benchmark of 1 minute and 38.084 seconds is worth noting. That's quick enough for 11th, so there's still plenty of pace on the table here in practice.
Welcome to Laguna Seca, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 23 cars out here in practice, all hunting for that perfect setup in the Watifa Muse S2000, and let me tell you, the pace is already close.
Rob JSE's got the edge by less than half a second over Dylan Wolf in 7th, but Freezer and Varnabas are both in the pits right now, so we'll see how this shakes out once everyone gets fresh rubber down.
Rob JSE's really got that S2000 dialed and up front. He's been consistent all session, no dramas.
Freezer's just coming out of the pits now, so we'll get a proper read on where he sits once he gets some temperature into those tyres.
Joe's out of the box on fresh rubber, and is looking to make up some ground here in the latter stages of practice.
He's emerged P8 in traffic though, so he'll need to navigate through the field to get a clean lap. With over an hour left, that strategy could still work in his favor if he can find clear air.
Look at Cranky Cow 352098 up there in third, barely 3/4 of a tenth off the lead. This is razor-thin stuff we are seeing.
Rob JSE's still holding top spot, but JNKNS 4749 in second is 4.5 back, which suggests the front runners found something the others haven't quite unlocked yet.
Dylan Wolf starting to look sharp out there. That gap back to 4th is still substantial, but he's got plenty of time to work on it.
Kiri's holding 4th, just under a second back from the top 3, which tells you how tight this practice session's become across the field.
Cranky Cow 352098's back out now after that pit stop. Let's see if he can slot straight back into the battle at the top.
He was only 8 tenths down before the stop, so if he's made a setup change in there, he could come out swinging.
Kerry's just nailed a 1 minute and 25.741 seconds. That's the benchmark now, and he's done it from second on the grid, which is impressive stuff.
Rob JSE's still ahead by 3 tenths, but if Kiri can find that pace consistently, the lead won't last long in these conditions.
Varnabas is out of the pits on the soft compound. They've got a clear track ahead of them, which is exactly what you want when you're trying to find a rhythm.
With roughly 2 hours left in practice, that's a sensible window to run through the field and build up some temperature before the session gets properly congested again.
Dylan Wolf's dived into the pits now, soft tyres coming off, and I'm curious what they're planning here with all this time still on the clock.
Hard compound going on, so it looks like a two-stop strategy. They're not committing to making the softs last the distance.
There's Big Red 7 on fresh mediums, and they've got a decent gap to traffic ahead. This could be a proper chance to get some consistent laps in and dial. Welcome to Laguna Seca, folks. We've got 23 cars out here in practice, and I can already feel the energy. Everyone's pushing hard to dial in these setups before qualifying.
Rob JSE, Kerry, and Dylan Wolf are all in the pits at the moment, but JNKNS 4749 has got track position and is 3/10 up the road. Worth watching to see if that pace is real or just fresh tyres.
Jane Canis 4749 just posted a 1 minute and 27.013 seconds. That's the fastest lap of the session so far, and is doing it from P3.
Fresh rubber making the difference there, but the gap back to Cranky Cow 352098 is nearly 5 seconds, so we'll see if that holds once the others get their qualifying runs in.
Wiley's on a strong run here, just clocked a 1 minute and 32.415 seconds. That's a solid improvement and is finding his rhythm around Laguna Seca.
He's still a fair bit off JNKNS 4749's pace, but in practice that's really about understanding where the car wants to be. Everyone's learning the circuit differently.
And Bragg's back out on fresh R8 88 RS. That's a compound change, so we'll be looking to see if that unlocks a bit more grip through the session.
He's exiting into a decent gap behind Cranky Cow 352098, so he should have some clean air to work with and build up temperature in those new tyres without traffic interference.
Big Red 7 back out on the M compound after that pit stop, coming out just behind Freezer, so he'll need to manage the gap and get those softer tyres up to temperature.
With 100 minutes left, he's got plenty of runway to extract the pace from that strategy, but whether the MS can close a 2-second deficit to JNKNS 4749 is the real question here.
So Fuzzy comes out of the pits on dry rubber. That's a strategy gamble with over 100 minutes to run.
He's emerged right in the pack behind Cranky Cow 352098, so he'll need to find clear track quickly to understand what those fresh tyres can actually do for him.
Cranky Cow 352098 peeling off into the pits now. Let's see what direction they're going with this one.
He's coming in on S tyres with just over 100 minutes left, so this feels like strategy work rather than a full race distance run.
Junkie's in the box now on those dry tyres. Early stop with over 100 minutes still on the clock, so this is clearly a strategic decision.
Given how much time remains, he's banking on one stopping from here, which means those dries need to have real longevity if he's going to make it stick.
Rob JSE's been out there for a while now, really getting a feel for what this S2000 wants through the high-speed stuff.
He's got over 2 minutes on Kerry in second, so there's clearly some pace there, but with this much practice time left, it's all about consistency and setup refinement rather than outright speed.
ASEAN Descrivio's coming in now. Let's see what they're planning with those S tyres.
With over 100 minutes left, this feels like a one-stop gamble. They're betting those softs can hold up to the end of the session.
Dylan's still in the garage. He's nearly 3 minutes down, so this might be a chance to reset and come back out with a fresh perspective on the setup.
Barnabas and Freezer are out there doing solid, steady work. They're close enough to threaten the lead but not quite finding that extra tenth to push forward.
Welcome back to Laguna Seca. We've got 2 drivers pushing hard in the Ferrari 355 Challenge, and with 7 minutes left in qualifying, this is where it all comes down.
Big Red 7 and Cranky Cow 352098 are locked together on the board, literally separated by nothing, so we're about to see who's got the nerve to find that extra tenth when it matters most.
6 minutes left and everyone's still in the pits. This is that moment where you're weighing up one last push or playing it safe with what you've got.
Laguna Seca's a track that doesn't forgive a dodgy exit, so whoever commits to that final run has got to nail every sector or they're just throwing it away.
Welcome to Laguna Seca, folks. What a fantastic grid we've got assembled here today in these beautiful Supercars Classics machines, and the qualifying battle is absolutely on.
16 cars fighting for pole position, and Chris is leading right now, but there's some real pace in that field. Cranky Cow 352098 is less than a second away, so we could see serious movement in these final runs.
Chris is still out there chasing that benchmark time. Assetto Corsa has set the bar at 1 minute and 34.255 seconds, and has got to find nearly a second and a half to get back on top.
The pit window's getting crowded though. Varnabas, Freezer, and Joe are all staged and ready to push, so we'll see some fresh rubber hitting the track very soon.
Dylan Wolf is boxing it in early. He's got soft tyres on the car, so he's clearly thinking about what comes next in this session.
Interesting call, especially with him fourth on the board. If he's planning a two-stop, he needs to make sure that first stint on S compound doesn't leave him too far back when he rejoins.
Brad's just posted a 2 minutes and 4.331 seconds. That's a solid improvement, but he's still hunting for that extra tenth or two to challenge the front runners.
He's gained time in the middle sector, but Chris and Cranky Cow 352098 have set a pretty high bar. Brad's going to need another run to really threaten the top spot.
Varnabas is out on track now and he's got a massive gap to make up, over 100 seconds back, so this is all about getting a clean lap and finding some real pace.
Early stop for soft tyres suggests he's banking on a two-stop strategy, but with that deficit, he needs to deliver immediately or he's just cycling through rubber for nothing.
Most of the field is in the pits right now, but this is where the real work gets done. Fresh rubber, fresh strategy, and everyone's got one shot to nail it.
Chris and Cranky Cow 352098 have set the benchmark, so anyone still in the garage will need to find a clear 10th at minimum to threaten them when they rejoin.
Dylan Wolf's back on track with fresh soft rubber. He's got to make those tyres count because he's a long way back from Chris and Cranky Cow 352098.
He's exiting into a relatively clean run, but with over 100 seconds to find, even a perfect lap might not be enough to challenge the top two. This is damage limitation territory.
Welcome to Laguna Seca, folks. 7 laps of pure racing drama ahead, and this field is tighter than a drum at the start of this one.
Chris leads from Cranky Cow 352098, but what's really interesting is how compressed the midfield is. Positions 3 through 9 are separated by nothing, so we could see some serious jockeying for points here.
And we are racing. The field accelerates away, chaos into the first corner, everyone looking for position.
A lot of movement in those first few seconds. We'll sort out who's where as they come through.
7 laps is barely enough time to settle this. Every position from second onwards could change hands multiple times before the checkered flag.
The soft tyres Dylan's running will give him pace early, but that's a double-edged sword when you're chasing on a short race distance like this.
Cranky Cow 352098 just grabbed the fastest lap and took the lead. This is exactly the kind of move that wins races on a track like this.
He's found something in the car setup, but Chris is right on it, just a tenth back, so we're not seeing any real breathing room at the front yet.
Chris is stalking Cranky Cow 352098 here, 1/10 back, and you can feel the pressure building in that lead car.
Dylan's soft tyres are doing the job in third, but he's got to be conscious of that degradation over 6 more laps. Hard tyres would have been the safer play on this distance.
Rob JSE's keeping it tight in fourth. He's only 4/10 down from Dylan, and if those softs start to fade, he could be right there to pounce.
Barnabas is sitting on Dylan's gearbox in fifth, literally nowhere to go. So the order could shuffle dramatically once we hit lap 3 or 4 when the tyre delta changes.
Chris is absolutely hunting now. He's closed that gap to the lead down to a 10th and he's got fresh air ahead of him. This is where champions make their move.
The problem for Cranky Cow 352098 is he's got to manage that traffic in the pit lane still, so Chris could well inherit the lead before lap 2 even finishes.
And Cranky Cow 352098 is just emerging from the pits now, loses the lead to Chris, who's already pushing hard up front.
That pit stop cost him 5 seconds, so Chris has inherited P1 with a clear track ahead. Dylan Wolf's still on softs in second, managing that tyre life as best he can.
Dylan Wolf's got his work cut out for him now. Chris is right there in his mirrors and that gap's not getting any bigger.
Rob JSE and Barnabas are within a 10th of each other too, so we could see the entire podium shuffle once these softs start to lose grip.
Dylan Wolf's on softs and is holding Chris off, barely, but with 5 laps still to run, those tyres are going to fade.
Chris is right there at a 10th back, and he's got the fresher compound underneath him, so it's really a question of when, not if.
Chris is closing in lap by lap. Dylan's softs are starting to blister and is running out of answers.
5 laps is a long time in this heat, and Chris has the newer rubber to make a move stick when it counts.
Barnabas just posted a new personal best, 1 minute and 31.278 seconds. He's hungry back there in fourth, and that gap to Rob JSE is paper thin.
4 laps remaining and he's still half a tenth off the fastest, but the momentum's clearly with him. If those softs haven't peaked yet, we could see a shuffle in the top 4 very soon.
Chris is within a 10th now. Dylan's defense is crumbling and we're about to see the pass. I can feel it.
The gap's tightening because Dylan's tyre temperature is dropping faster than his pace. Chris has the consistency to punish that over the remaining laps.
Dylan's running out of real estate here. Chris is right there and ready to strike.
With 4 laps left, this is where tyre management becomes championship arithmetic. 1 mistake from Dylan and P1 changes hands.
Fuzzy E's back out on fresh softs and has got a mountain to climb, emerging into traffic at the back of the fight, but those tyres are going to be a weapon in the closing laps.
16 seconds in the pits is respectable, but he's lost 3 positions and there's 4 laps to make it count. The question is whether soft compound pace can make up ground when everyone else is managing what they've got left.
3 laps to decide this. Chris has the bit between his teeth and Dylan nose is under the gun.
Dylan's on softs, which should give him grip, but Chris is laying down fastest laps. That's the real story here.
Rob JSE's tucked in third and holding firm, but there's a pile-up of pace right behind him with Varnabas just a quarter second adrift.
The real pressure is on Dylan in second. Soft tyres were the right call, but Chris isn't giving him a breather, and with 3 laps left there's no time for a recovery if he makes a mistake.
Laguna Seca is one of those tracks where you need nerves of steel in the closing stages. Chris is absolutely relentless up there.
Dylan's soft tyres should theoretically be fresher, but if he can't close that gap in the next lap or two, Chris's pace might just be too much to answer before the flag.
Two laps left and Chris just posted a 1 minute and 32.524 seconds. That's a personal best, and Dylan's going to need something special to bridge that gap.
Dylan's still on soft, so the tyre advantage is there theoretically, but Chris is extracting everything from his package and not making errors. That's championship winning pace right there.
Chris is absolutely in control now. That personal best puts him over a second clear, and Dylan's got to find pace from somewhere he hasn't shown yet.
With 2 laps remaining, Dylan's soft compound advantage is becoming academic if he can't close the gap. Chris is managing his tyres perfectly while setting the pace.
Dylan's running out of time here. He needs a gap to open up in front of Chris, anything he can exploit on this final lap.
The soft tyres have done their job, but Chris's consistency is the real story. He's not giving Dylan a single opportunity to make a move stick.
This is it. 1 lap to settle it, and Chris is still sitting pretty at the front with Dylan chasing hard behind.
Dylan's soft tyres should be in their sweet spot right now, but he needs to find a 10th or 2 he hasn't used yet to even think about a last lap attempt.
1 lap left and Dylan's in the pit box. That's the race for him. Mate, Chris is going to take this one.
Dylan's stop cost him any realistic chance. Rob JSE and Cranky Cow 352098 are breathing down his neck now, separated by nothing on track.
Well, Dylan's pit stop has handed Chris the keys to first place, and with 1 lap to go, that's the race won right there.
Rob JSE and Cranky Cow 352098 are locked together in 3rd and 4th, separated by nothing. One of them could still shuffle Dylan down the road before the flag.
Chris is going to cruise this home. Dylan's gamble with that stop has completely unraveled, and now Rob JSE and Cranky Cow 352098 are fighting for scraps behind him.
The real battle is P3 and P4. They're separated by nothing, and with 1 lap remaining, either could make a move that shuffles the entire podium around.
Chris takes the win. What a race that was, brilliant stuff from start to finish.
Race result, Chris wins. We'll break down the key moments shortly.
And that's the checkered flag. Chris takes it at Laguna Seca, a dominant drive from start to finish. Mate, absolutely controlled.
Dylan Wolf second, but that pit stop strategy gamble really cost him the win. He's 0.87s adrift at the line.
Chris is in the box right now. He's topped up those S tires and is back out, mate, ready for this final lap.
One lap remaining, so this has to be a one-stop finish. There's no time for another cycle, which means Chris is committed to bringing those fresh softs home.
Welcome to Laguna Seca for qualifying, folks. We've got the Watifa Muse S2000 GT1 Turbo absolutely primed and ready to attack, and 7 minutes on the clock to nail that perfect lap.
Single car session means one shot to get it right. Any lockup, any understeer into the high-speed stuff, and that lap is toast.
Everyone's in the pits now with 6 minutes left. This is the final push, Martin. Whoever nails it here takes pole.
The turbo's got to be singing in this heat. It'll be all about managing that boost through the technical sections without overdoing it.
Six minutes to go and everyone's got one more crack at it. This Amuse is a handful through the high-speed stuff, but if someone gets the turbo lit just right, we could see a new benchmark.
The track's still coming in too. We might see a couple tenths freed up if the asphalt temp's risen since the last run.
Five minutes left and it's absolutely anyone's game out there. This turbo's got real teeth when you get it right.
Pressure's on now, track temperature's peaked, so whoever's out there next is running out of ideal conditions to improve.
Big Red 7 just went fastest with a 2 minutes and 9.111 seconds. That's the one to beat right now, Martin.
Clean run through the technical sections. The turbo deployment looked textbook on that lap.
Four minutes now and Big Red 7's got a 22-second cushion, but Junkie's only 15 back. There's still time for drama here.
Dylan, Rob, and Freezer are all tied on the same time, so we could see a massive shuffle in these final moments if anyone finds another tenth.
Junkie's got the bit between his teeth now. Look at that exit speed. He's hunting Big Red 7 down with everything he's got.
He's found something in the mid-range of the track. Those sector times are consistently purple where they were yellow before.
3 minutes left and Wesley's just clocked at 2 minutes and 50.038 seconds. That's a solid improvement, but Big Red 7's still got that monster gap at the top.
Wesley's found consistency in the mid-sector, though there's still 74 seconds between them and P1. The window's closing fast now.
2:55 on the clock and Big Red 7's still sitting pretty with that 1 minute and 31.651 seconds. But you can feel the desperation out there. Everyone's throwing everything at it.
Junkie's gap is narrowing though. If he can nail this next lap without a mistake, we might actually see some movement at the top before the checkered flag.
Chris has just gone fastest, 1 minute and 24.567 seconds, and that's a cracking lap. He's on pole now, but Junkie's right there breathing down his neck.
Chris found something in the final sector. That's where he's made up the time on Junkie's previous best. Quarter of a second in hand with 3 minutes to play.
Fuzzy East jumped in there with a 3 minutes and 50.225 seconds. That's a proper improvement, but look at the gap to Chris up front. Still got work to do with 2 minutes on the clock.
Fuzzy East found some pace in the middle of the lap, though Chris's margin at the top remains comfortable. The real battle's shaping up between the top four. They're separated by nothing.
Varnabas has found something on that lap. 1 minute and 26.956 seconds is a big improvement, but Crankicow's still got the measure of it at the top.
He's closed the gap to 1900ths now, which means there's definitely time on the table if anyone can string together a clean lap in these final 2 minutes.
2 minutes left and it's still wide open at the top. Cranky Cow, Rob JSE, and Chris are split by nothing. This is proper qualifying drama.
The tight margin means one mistake costs you everything. We are seeing drivers push right to the edge now, and the precision needed in these final runs is absolutely critical.
1 minute to go and Chris has just locked in that 1 minute and 22.993 seconds. That's the benchmark now. Pole position is his to lose.
Cranky Cow's within a tenth and a half, so if he nails the next lap he's absolutely got a shot at knocking Chris off the top.
Freezes up to 1 minute and 26.142 seconds. That's a cracking lap and is right in the mix now. Martin.
He's still 3/10ths off Chris's pace, but with 1 minute on the clock there's absolutely time to find another tenth or two if the conditions stay consistent.
Rob JSE's got a 1 minute and 23.434 seconds. That's a proper improvement and is knocking on the door of the top spots with seconds to go.
He's still nearly half a tenth back from Chris, but the real question is whether anyone can find that extra bit of pace in their final push before the flag drops.
Fuzzy E's put in a 1 minute and 49.928 seconds. That's a solid effort and is climbing up the order as we enter the final minute.
He's still over a second adrift of Chris at the top, but in a grid this tight, every improvement counts when there's time on the clock.
Brad's just logged a 1 minute and 29.213 seconds. He's improving, but Chris has still got breathing room at the top with 2 seconds in hand.
The gap tells the story here. Brad's nearly 6/10ths away from pole position, and with the session winding down, Chris looks to have the measure of this field today.
Time's up. Chris has done it. Takes pole position with a 2-second cushion over the field.
Rob JSE and Dylan Wolf both showed strong single-lap pace from the pits, but neither could quite find the margin needed to dethrone him. This field's incredibly tight behind the leader.
Joe's heading into the pits early on the R888 RS. That's an interesting call this deep into qualifying.
Two-stop strategy, probably. Those reds won't last the distance, and he's banking on fresher rubber for a final push when it matters most.
Varnabas is committed to that strategy. R888 RS in the pits, and is banking on one final qualifying run to shake things up.
The question is whether he's got enough fuel and tyre life left to make that gamble stick, or if he's gambling away a shot at the top 5.